Hello folks, hope that's coming through loud and clear. Seems to be running okay so far. No strange weird internet juju going on at the moment, maybe, hopefully. It is the 20th of the 9th 2012. You are listening to INSOC Ministry of Lies Radio. No, not really. I was contemplating doing that as a new format. Maybe I'll have a go at that at some point. You're listening to me, the HairyCookieMunster. This is Virtual Shamanizing on flippingthepyramids.co.uk. Please check out the website. Ignore the spam army that is lurking around at the moment. Yeah, that's just one of those side effects of the internet, isn't it, really, unfortunately. Has its good sides and its bad sides, but anyway, before I start rambling, yeah, just typical of me, that was. Pressed the wrong button, played the wrong tune at the beginning, but never mind, just means I've got to reshuffle my playlist now. Karma Police from Radiohead, yes, excellent track. Seemed appropriate to me for most various reasons of everything that's going on at the moment, but I had been planning to play it a bit later on after playing something else in particular. I've just got to play this for everybody. You've probably seen and heard it. It's certainly going viral very rapidly, I think. Yes, a bit of tongue-in-cheek, a bit of unfortunately ironic comedy. Just shut up and play it. I'll swear at him afterwards.
I'd like to take this opportunity to put a few things straight. When I meet people around the country, it's obvious that many of you have strong and pretty mixed reactions to some of the things that Liberal Democrats have done in government. Many of you tell me that you're glad that at a time of real economic uncertainty, we put aside our political differences to provide our country with stable leadership. But I also meet people who are disappointed and angry that we couldn't keep all our promises. We couldn't keep all our promises, above all our promise not to raise tuition fees. And to those people, I say this. We made a promise before the election that we would vote against any rising fees. We would vote against any rising fees. We would vote against any rising fees. It was a pledge made with the best of intentions. The best of intentions. But we shouldn't have made a promise we weren't absolutely sure we could deliver. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. There's no easy way to say I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. There's no easy way to say I'm sorry, I'm sorry. When we're wrong, we hold our hands up, but when we're right, we hold our heads up too. You learn from your mistakes, and that's what we will do. I've said that won't be enough for everyone, but I owe it to you. You learn from your mistakes, and that's what we will do. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. There's no easy way to say I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. There's no easy way to say I'm sorry, I'm sorry. We are sorry, we are sorry. The Liberal Democrats are sorry. There's no easy way to say we are sorry, we are sorry, we are sorry, we are sorry. The Liberal Democrats are sorry. There's no easy way to say we are sorry. And if we've lost your trust, that's how I hope we can start to win it back.
Oh, click the button again. Oh God, I've got to get control of my button clicking this evening. Yes, sorry for. I am sorry for subjecting you to that. I apologise for furthering that brain worm into your cerebellum. You'll have to get out your DDT and spray it. I could swear at that man so much, it's just, I could fill an entire radio show with just a stream of swear words at that man. But there is, other than being a healthy vent of frustrations and anger, it wouldn't achieve anything. Nick Clegg, you're a foppish tool, you're dead inside, I pity your future consciousness, and I pity the future of your children. I think that's enough said about him. Yes, I thought it was quite amusing in that, like I say, unfortunately ironic fashion, and I can't wait to see what else he's done with that little clip-it. I'm sure all those busy little gnomes out there in internet land will be hacking and chopping away at that. I reckon Cassette Boy will probably be salivating. He's adding that into his audio files, but yes, anyway. Just seemed as well good to give a little bit of a UK perspective. For those of you not in the UK, that was a little speech put out by Nick Clegg of the Liberal Democrats, man. But supposedly him attempting to clean up the image of the Liberal Democrats a bit, maybe, just failing entirely. Yeah, just no need to go there, but I just thought it was a good way of giving a little bit of a UK perspective for a change, because I often talk about global stuff. I will be in a bit as well, so don't want the people in the UK to think that I'm ignoring the situation here. I most certainly, definitely am not. It's just that there is a much bigger picture going on. As part of the duality of things, you need to be keeping an eye on what's going on in your own personal locality, environment, as well as the big rest of everything. Yes, before I start digressing into stuff about duality again, which I hadn't intended to anyway. Yes, shut up, girl, will you? Wanted to say thank you to Keelan for an excellent show on Sunday. That was cool to listen to guests as well. Haven't heard from them in a while. I know Tom has been putting out some podcasts of his interviews and stuff on his YouTube channel. Listen to them. But yes, it was altogether an excellent show with lots of links of interesting information, and great to hear that you're potentially getting out onto TNS Radio as well. That's another good radio station, folks. If you haven't checked them out, find them at tnsradio.ning.com. Put that link in the chat room in case anybody hasn't got it. Yeah, there's just so many websites I could mention. I was thinking about this earlier this afternoon. I surf quite a few different websites, look at different channels, try to get differing angles on stuff if I can, not get pulled into the left-right paradigm crap, but at the same time listening and looking at as much as I possibly can. So there's just too many good websites and radio shows and podcasts and video uploads. I could not do a list justice. It would just get silly. Also interesting to hear Keelan on Smells Like Human Spirit. I linked the podcast further up in the chat room for those people who hadn't heard it. It's only a little, I think, half an hour, 40 minutes interview. But yeah, some good questions and some good answers. Interesting to listen to, thank you. So enough of bigging everybody up. Who else shall I big up today? I would big up Red, but he's not turning up tomorrow, so there's no show tomorrow from Red, unfortunately. So I'm going to take the opportunity to play lots and lots of guitar rock at you. Ha 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 ha. Well, a little bit, not too much. But yes, I will be sticking to my usual of predominantly guitar-based stuff, but I'll play one sort of dub rap stuff a bit later as a tribute for Red. I think it's a... Yeah, I'll just shut up, I'll play it later. But yeah, no show unfortunately tomorrow from Red. He's got other commitments, but he will be back again next week hopefully. On Sunday we should have Keelan back with a new podcast, and on Monday there'll be Blue Bus with Reality Check, and then it'll be back to me again. Arjan's off working on sorting his independence out, so thank him for all the energetic punk shows he's put up there. That was a good energy burst and interesting to hear lots of different punk stuff that I'd never heard before. I grew up with punk, but there was quite a few bits and bobs in there that he played that I hadn't heard before, so that was great. Yes, anyway, enough bigging up then. Let's have a look at the news. Let's get into it. Cheese Factor 9. Your chocolate rations for today. Yes, chocolate rations have gone down slightly, I'm afraid. Your chocolate ration for today will be Royal Titties. But unfortunately, they're somewhat lacklustre on the not exactly great side, let's put it that way. So titties, but only in small portions. That's your chocolate ration for today. I'm attempting to start a new meme of get your Katies out for the lads. Yes, am I being a male chauvinist pig? Probably, but it's more just to throw some sarcastic poo at that whole story of the royal flashing. As somebody pointed out in one comment I read on an article about said royal flashing, if a photographer with a telephoto lens could get himself into position to take those photographs, that means a terrorist with a sniper rifle could have done the same and shot them. It's highly unlikely that could have happened. The amount of security around the royals is extreme. Yes, maybe speculative, but also worth considerating. That's not even a real word. I'm totally losing control of my mouth at the moment, so take a breath. Yes, so worth considering. Just more, to me, more evidence, maybe anecdotal evidence, but more evidence to show that the whole thing was a setup. Whenever somebody in celebrity world wants to boost their ratings, get a bit more popularity, get themselves back in the public eye, etc., they conveniently release some kind of sex tape or similar scandal, or they announce they're going into rehab or other such tosh. And even though it may seem at the time to be negative press, in the long run it's boosted them in exactly the way they wanted. Up until today, I'm glad to say today it has changed to other stories which I'll talk about in a minute, but up until today her name was the highest rated search term on several of the news websites I looked at, like Yahoo News, The Telegraph, Guardian, etc. And also supposedly on Google search her name was topping out at the top. So was it all a convenient setup? Yeah, maybe I'm a tinfoil hat wearer, but I don't care what labels you throw at me. It seems pretty bloody obvious to me. In a similar note, the other royal being sent to the front lines of combat, announcing to the enemy where he's going to be, and then, the enemy has attacked the base where the royals are. Quick, we better put him in a bunker to keep him safe. Oh my God, the vomit factor of this rubbish that is being thrown in front of the public. Here's your chocolate rations for today. Feel concerned about the royals, aren't they? Just, they're real human beings just like you. They're in it together just like you. Look, she gets a baps out. Look, he's fighting for the country. He's in danger. You've got to be concerned about him. Oh. Yes. I can feel myself starting to froth already. let's just dump that story where it is, where it deserves to be. Take a dump on that story and dump it there. Thank you. Move on. If you didn't know, if you're looking at alternative information, you probably do. It's been in the last few days the anniversary of the Occupy campaign, shall we call it, movement, global uprising, almost, hopefully in a nice way. But yes, it's been more of the same, I'm afraid, in respects of the people doing the Occupy protests, going out on the streets, trying to exercise their right to free speech and to peacefully assemble to attempt to get redress of their complaints, and they're being pepper sprayed and battened and pushed and shoved and arrested. Lots and lots of arrests already. So yeah, more of the same with that, I'm afraid. Just I think I might have said on this show at some point, I know I've said it lots in the past, go to protests, yes, but don't expect the system to change because you wave a banner. Protests don't change the system, but protests can change people. You can network, you can meet others, you can help raise awareness, you can have an effect on the public consciousness, and it's that makes the difference. The system itself won't care. You know, you can protest as much as you like as long as you keep paying your taxes. Now, that's all that bothers them. So, you know, I appreciate what the genuine grassroots occupiers are doing, because they are attempting to do that, if anything, create some kind of awakening awareness within the mass public that, look, this shit is going mental, what are you doing, putting up with it? And in that kind of frame of mind, I'm going to play another little track which I think at the moment, with everything else going on and with a lot of the other hypocrisy that's occurring, it seems highly appropriate to me. And I think Reg, you played a mixed version of this, I think, once before. But so anyway, yeah, you might recognise it. I will be back in about 3 minutes or so. Flipping your pyramids. Yes, that was Fun by Three. The lunatics have taken over the asylum. Yeah, I thought I'd play the original. There's Reg linked it in the chat room. The mix one he played was from the Sound Foundation. Ah, right, yeah. I thought I'd heard you play it, so yeah, inspired me to dig up the original and play the original. The lunatics have taken over the asylum. Where shall we begin? Chinese military talking about prepare yourself to go to war with Japan, and lots of protests going on at the moment in China over the disputed islands, which conveniently have some major deposits of resources. I think it's natural gas there, but a long-running dispute over those islands is, yeah, looking like it's going to start getting rather heated and out of hand. You know, there seems to be protests going on all over the place, near enough all over the planet. If you want to look, you will find protests going on all over the planet. Too many for me to just reel off different links to different things. But one in particular I thought I would mention. There was a little update on it on the Real News. That's UK's anti-Assad rhetoric exposes hypocrisy over Bahrain brutality. Take a breath. I'll link the video into the chat room, but if you search YouTube for that, you'll find it on the Real News. No, sorry, it was RT, not the Real News. What am I talking about? Looking at it now that I've actually reopened the link myself. Yeah, it was on Russia Today, RT. Apologies, I misspoke. Oh dear, does that mean I'm a politician now? Oh no. No, RT, yes, get it right, you fool. But that was, like I said, just an update of the situation in Bahrain. I've mentioned it several times before. Other people are still talking about it, I'm glad to say. But our mainstream media here in the UK conveniently ignores it. You won't see that much mention of what's going on in Bahrain, the protests, the people that have died, the people that have been arrested, etc., etc. The oppression of a friendly regime to the current Anglo-American NATO empire of death, whatever you want to call it. The new neo-imperialist, feudalistic corporatocracy, whatever. Just how many different multi-syllable words can we use to label just I prefer to just refer to it as the machine, the agenda. But yes, obviously not just in Bahrain in particular, it's protests against the regime. Note that there doesn't seem to be much protest going on there in terms of this current talking point of the anti-Muslim film, or shall we say just film clip, because it's not even a total film. Of course, we've been chatting about this in various chat rooms recently, even though to me it seems fairly obvious that this is deliberately placed propaganda, most likely the equivalent of a media false flag, let's put it that way. It's a highly convenient smokescreen and talking point generator and division generator. I mean, look at the effect it's had. There's over 50 people dead in the rioting that is attributed to the Muslim world rising up in disgust at the contents of this said film clip. If you look at it, I haven't actually watched the entire thing myself because I didn't want to propagate it. I didn't want to add another view to it on YouTube, etc., etc. I was already, like I've said, I may be presuming, yes, but I felt fairly confident in the fact that it was going to be just crap. I have seen clips of it included in other people's commentary and articles, etc., and those clips have just further confirmed my original suspicion that it's a pile of poo deliberately put together to inflame divisionary hatred, religious hatred, etc., etc., whatever. And I mean, obviously, to a lot of people who are highly devout in their faith, it could be very upsetting. I don't agree with them getting violent over it. No, sorry, I'm too secular in my own personal beliefs to see that you should need to do that. If your God is really God's, that's all that matters. But has this been deliberately placed? I think it has. There's more evidence coming out now. People have been checking into who actually put this clip onto the internet. You can find it quite easily on YouTube, conveniently. Isn't that funny? You know, the amount of times people attempting to put out alternative information, and I don't mean that in the sense of it being odd information, just the fact that it's coming through alternative channels rather than mainstream. It only takes one flagging of that bit of information and it gets stifled automatically by YouTube. YouTube in particular does this. It will only take one person to flag your video uploads, and automated systems will then block that video. If it's flagged enough times, it will warrant human interaction. You know, somebody at YouTube will actually look at the video and gauge its contents and make a decision on it, whatever. Supposedly, you know, a lot of the time it's just complete and utter bullshit. Welcome to INGSOC, Ministry of Lies. But isn't it, you know, oh so curious that this one particular video that it is claimed has been the direct cause of I shouldn't say direct, because it's not as if the video jumped out of the screen and killed people, but has been the cause of people dying across various countries of the world. And yet it's still there, readily available. And if anything, if you're not logged in to YouTube, you just go on YouTube as a non-account user, it's one of the top videos you'll see listed on their main page. You can't avoid the fact that it's there. To such that Russia and I think it was Pakistan are now blocking YouTube rather than bothering to mess about with dancing round the game of playing the hypocritical bureaucracy of sending messages backwards and forwards asking for something to be taken down. They've just blocked YouTube completely. Interesting side note of the ability to control access to various information on the internet and control free speech, etc. Yes. But, as I like to do, leave a pregnant pause with a big fat butt in it. Again, has this been deliberately placed? I speculate, I hypothesise that it has been used deliberately as a smokescreen. More evidence has come out in the past day or so that the people who assaulted the embassy in Benghazi were most likely military radicals, freedom fighters, you could call them, of course, because that's how they've been relabelled and resold to you now. The very same people that fought against Gaddafi and took Gaddafi down, then went back and took out the American ambassador. Supposedly, one of them is an ex-Guantanamo Bay inmate. Just how many connections into that machine, that octopus of the agenda, do you wish to see before it becomes apparent what you're looking at? Is this to further propagate even if it's just the perception of, rather than the actual reality of, but the perception of a clash of civilizations, continuation of the Crusades, further attempts to create extreme and violent divisions between Muslims and Christians primarily, but also, this verges into various other cultural aspects as well as religious. I speculated this the other day while talking with other people. I think that ambassador was quite deliberately and maliciously sacrificed for the purposes of this agenda, to further that perspective of, oh look, the dangerous Muslims, we must be afraid, they hate us for our freedoms, we must send more troops, yes, send more warships, send more troops, rah! Problem, reaction, solution. Those troops that were there supposedly guarding him, the actual US troops, were given blank ammunition. Supposedly being attacked by insurgents, terrorists, freedom fighters, armed with assault rifles and RPGs, and they had blank ammunition. So, the lunatics have taken over the asylum. At the same time, to further add fuel to the fire, to fan those flames, another media publication is announcing it was going to publish defamatory cartoons of the Prophet, leading to also news of the French embassy in various countries being closed, also schools being closed, etc. The French government believing that their people could be in danger. There's other reports of US embassies being assaulted. I think it was in Pakistan. There were firing off the tear gas to try and keep the rioting crowds away from the embassies, etc. Yes, lots and lots of craziness. The lunatics are sowing their seeds of chaos. At the same time, this was a report, originally I saw it coming out of whatreallyhappened.com. That's Mike Rivero's website, but also found it, copy and paste, do more quicker, found it on other websites as well, so I'll give you a couple of links in the chat room, because it also cropped up onto the Telegraph today. And as I was mentioning earlier about originally the unfortunate fact that the, what could you call it, the ridiculous royal puppet show was top of the most read items today, it just so happens on the Telegraph that that particular story has now risen to the top read items. The one I'm referring to is on telegraph.co.uk. Israel stages largest snap exercise in years. As I say, I originally found that on whatreallyhappened.com, which we linked into the Debka file, which I've also included a link to in the chat. But as I say, it's also now a mainstream media article on the Telegraph. The Golan Heights again. If you don't know any history of the area, it might be worth you just doing a quick search on those two terms. Golan Heights, history, military, Israel, etc. Just put them in a search box of your choosing, and you'll get plenty of info. There's a big long history there of stuff that you can read about, but it's been a contested area for a very long time, fairly strategically important, certainly to Israel, let alone their cultural claims to it, etc. I'm not saying they're right or wrong. I certainly don't think they're right in the way they go about these things. No, let's not divert into ranting about Israel. I do that far too often. But yes, Israeli troops massing. Don't worry, folks, it's just an exercise. They're just going to do some war games, just like the war games that the 25 nation strong fleet in the Gulf is also currently doing. They're practicing patrolling the Strait of Hormuz and sweeping for mines. Oh, isn't that such convenient timing? Don't worry, folks, it's all just exercises, military exercises. Gulf of Tonkin was a military exercise originally, I believe. Check into that if you wish to. As I've often said, don't believe me, look into this stuff for yourself. I'm just sharing with you what I find, what I look at, how I'm trying to get a perspective on these crazy things that are going on, and hopefully not falling into the rabbit hole and never being able to climb out again, because there are too many traps down in that rabbit hole. I haven't got a link to this next thing I'll mention, because I deliberately did not get a link for it, because I didn't want to propagate it, because I think it's complete and utter rubbish. Supposedly the Chinese and American naval fleets are currently engaged with a hostile alien entity somewhere off the west coast of America. Can we say battle for Los Angeles, folks? I was quite disappointed to see this story come out and propagate across certain websites, the kind of websites, unfortunately, where some of the most or more outlandish stories get punted around way too quickly before anybody's actually bothered to check into them in any sensible way. So you get the typical disinfo, Chinese whispers effect of you know, oh, it said this on so-and-so website, it must be true. I think it's more likely that the Chinese have sent some ships to the western coast of America in a similar fashion to the Russian sub which popped up in the Gulf of Mexico not that long ago. They're basically just making a point. They're demonstrating the fact to the great American nation that we can bring our ships to your border as well. You know, you want to send ships to the South China Sea and menace us, we can do the same thing to you. And if there's Chinese ships there, the Americans will most likely respond by sending some of their ships to keep an eye on them. So ergo, you've got Chinese and American naval ships in that area doing whatever. And somebody's seen this going on and go, oh, they must be fighting aliens. Yeah, we'll put that story out. Yeah, that's a good idea, isn't it? Don't look over there, folks, look over here. Take no notice of all those ships massing in the Middle East. Take no notice of all those troops on the borders of Egypt. Take no notice. Look over here, look over here. Aliens. Ooh, aliens. Yes, so I didn't get a link for that story because I just don't think it's worth your time. If you want to look for it, you can easily find it. I'm sure it's still bouncing around there. I hope it dies off quite quickly as people disprove it. But there is that. Hopefully, if you're listening to this kind of stuff, you're already on the path, as it were, towards attempting to have a bit more discernment in the information that you are taking into your mind, that you are allowing into your mind. You're not so easily being fooled by the mainstream media. You are asking questions. You are looking into stuff for yourself. So you should hopefully be a bit more aware of those kind of distraction tactics. Don't look over there, folks. Look at these royal titties. Ooh, look, royal titties. Ooh, let's all talk about how she shouldn't be put on the papers. Oh, yeah, let's talk about how she shouldn't be published. Even though she was quite obviously flashing them for everybody to see. No. Look over there. Look, aliens are attacking. Ooh. Yes, I could rant about that all day long. So maybe I should just move on. I'm going to give you another link, which I think is an interesting story worth looking into if you haven't already seen information along these lines. I think that, this has been talked about for quite a while, certainly in the alternative media, in the tinfoil hat brigades. Quite a few people have been shouting this kind of information right from the beginning of GMO experimentation, of crops being planted, etc. It's coming from naturalnews.com. It's just basically an article that links to a study studying tumours in rats that are caused by GMO corn. Title of the article is Shock Findings in New GMO Study. Rats fed lifetime of GM corn grow horrifying tumours. 70% of females die early. I'm sure you'll find it easy enough on naturalnews.com. Probably will become fairly viral, I think, that article, simply because of the shock factor of some of the photographs that are included. Just to get the point across to people of what these genetic crops could have the potential of doing. I haven't actually looked further into the research itself yet myself. That's something I'm planning to do, to check into it, but I thought it was worth bringing that article to your attention if you hadn't seen it. Hopefully, like I said, it'll go viral and you'll see it anyway. All this craziness going on. Meanwhile, back home, in Ingsoc Ministry of Lies, we will get you talking about how the Lib Dems are so sorry. We're sorry, so sorry. and I'll show you some royal boobage, get you all talking about that and arguing over whether it should or shouldn't be allowed, etc. Are they just like you? They're just human folks. They're fallible too, just like you. We're all in it together, honest. That's why Cameron appointed ex-financial insiders from various banks and megacorps into the Treasury recently. Of course it is, because we're all in it together, folks. Yeah, it's just that some of us are balls deep in it, and the rest of us are up to our necks in it. Which bit you're in, I ain't going to try and explain to you because it'd get far too graphic. Before I move into the next sort of segment of stuff I want to rant and froth about. I've done a lot of research, folks. I'm going to rant and froth at you. But before I get into that, I've got another couple of appropriate tracks to play. They're always appropriate. I should stop using that word because I think they're appropriate, and unfortunately I've got control of the buttons. So yeah, this is going to be a bit of an Aussie fest for about 13 minutes. So yes, have some good hard rocking guitar in your ear rolls for 13 minutes, and I will be back shortly.
Flipping the Pyramid. www.flippingthepyramid.co.uk. We aim to discover the truth about our world and the issues it faces.
Whoa, some epic tunage there. Well, in my opinion. A couple of classics from Ozzy and Black Sabbath. First one was Crazy Train, and the other one was War Pigs. I hope you're all singing along. It just seems, yes, the lunatics have taken over the asylum, and they're driving this crazy train straight towards a new world war. Possibly, as others have said, this question of Iran and the danger of Iran has been used as a psychological battering ram for certainly most of my life. I can remember it going back at least 2, if not 3 decades. 2 at least, certainly, in terms of the sort of modern interpretation of the danger of a nuclear Iran and all that kind of stuff. So, is this just further perpetuation of that? Yeah, it could be. I just find that difficult to accept when you look at the mounting evidence of what is occurring day by day, the movements of large forces of military hardware, etc., etc. When it starts to get to this kind of stage, as often talked about, I've often talked about, loads of other people have said, it's very, very easy to fall into the fear of what is going on or what could potentially happen. Note, I say could potentially. Yes, it is a possible potentiality that this could happen. That doesn't mean it absolutely will. That certainly doesn't mean that you should descend into fear trap because of that possibility, because there are lots of possibilities that something could happen. Let's use that great old cliche, you could get run over by a bus. So don't let yourself fall into that fear trap of all this stuff at the moment. I've got to read that first. Let me bring that up. I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over me and through me. And when it has gone past, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear has gone, there will be nothing. Only I will remain. Yes, classic piece of advice there from Frank Herbert in that sci-fi classic Dune, but just that one piece of literacy has become a quote unto itself, really. But I find it a good little mantra to remember that. I don't necessarily mean, verbatim mantra. Just that simple concept that fear is the mind killer. Fear will paralyze you. Courage is not the lack of fear, it is the ability to pass through your fear, to do what needs to be done while you are afraid. If that makes sense the way I'm saying it, I'm sure you know what I mean. Good old cliches, I'm great at cliches. Why am I saying all this? Because I just presented you with a whole load of what is to a large extent fear porn, but unfortunately it is the reality of what is going on at the moment. You need to be aware of it. You need to take it into consideration of how you are going about your life and your interaction with others. And that sort of, I've been thinking about doing this for a while. I haven't done it yet to the extent that I want to. It's something that I want to keep working on, and maybe put something a bit more packaged together. But thinking about that concept of, well, not concept, just the mere everyday fact that the more you look into these kind of subjects, the more there is almost lurking in the background, not so much lurking in a insidious way, but just a constant umbra that surrounds these kind of topics, is that one of preparation, of prepping. Whenever you start looking at this kind of information, it brings to mind the simple common sense that if you are prepared for such eventualities, you'll have more chance of surviving them, or dealing with them, or just getting through them and building something better on the other side. So that whole aspect of, I call it survivalism, again, as with a lot of things, things can be taken to the extreme. I'm not suggesting that you all run out and attempt to be Bear Grylls or Ray Mears and start drinking camel piss and all this kind of stuff. No, not at all. But there is certainly an element of mindset that is worth considering, contemplating, evaluating for yourself and your own situation, because I feel it is relative. There is no carte blanche, you should do this. There is no easy checklist of what you should do or what you should put together for your preparations, etc. It's up to you to decide. That's why I would not just throw a load of information at you, such as survivalist manuals or how to grow your own tomatoes in a cupboard type document information. There's plenty and plenty and plenty of this kind of information freely available online. You can find lots and lots of different stuff out there covering this kind of information, and there's quite a number of websites that cover it from one level to another. You've got some groups out there that are very distinctly, sort of hardcore survivalist type perspective, and they are doing that kind of how far can you push yourself type environment survivalism, such as Bear Grylls or whoever else, that kind of extreme survival situation. But when you're talking about your average people on the street, there's approximately 7 billion people on the planet now. They can't all be Bear Grylls in the same way as they can't all be Gandhi, and they can't all be George W. Good old George W. So in that respect, how do these kind of things apply in a practical way to everyday life. This is why I talk about it as a mental concept. I'm not necessarily talking about the physical acts of preparation. I know I've talked about it before, mentioned it here and there. For me, in my opinion, I believe it is worthwhile making even the most modicum of preparations. You know, you have a box of candles and some waterproof matches in a cupboard where you know you can find it even in the dark, so that if you have a power cut, you've got some candles so you can have some lights. You know, these are just really simplistic things that are just good common sense in everyday life, let alone any kind of unusual situation. And that's the process where you can start approaching this from. What are those really simplistic things that I can do? Buying a few extra tins of the kind of stuff that has long lifespan that you can push to the back of the cupboard and rotate slowly forward over the next following months. Not only is it a good idea to have a stock of food in case something bad happens, at the moment, in an economic sense, it's just good sense, because you will protect the value of your money by usurping the rise in cost of food at the moment. You know, that article about the GM corn, I'm not sure if he mentions it in the article, but the prices of corn and other such basic staples have recently been going up because there have been various reasons. Weather conditions have caused droughts, crops have failed, international trade agreements are being argued over, portions of crops are being sent for other purposes such as biofuels, etc., etc. There's a few reasons, but the price of basic staple foods are going up, and that ain't going to stop anytime soon. If anything, it's probably going to accelerate now that we've had in America. You know, this is going to have a knock-on effect for us over here in the UK with the QE infinity. You know, I don't think they themselves are even calling it quantitative easing 3, are they? You know, it's basically ad infinitum. We're just going to keep pumping new money into the system, so prices will rise. Inflation will just cause that anyway, let alone all the problems to do with food supplies. So, if you're already looking at, listening to, watching, seeking to find this kind of information, as I say, in the background will constantly be that aspect of, what can I do about it? I was talking about this last week. One of the things you can be doing is prepping, even in the most simplistic manner. You know, get yourself a decent wind up dynamo type torch, radio, all those little bits of equipment that are not too expensive, so even if you're on a tight budget, you know, these things can be bought for a few pounds or a few dollars here and there. You pick them up as you're going along, you don't attempt to buy it all in one go. As I say, if you're on a budget, these things can be done in bits and bobs, and you will build yourself up a little pile of equipment and food, etc., that will be beneficial to you if something does happen. If nothing happens, oh well, you've got a bit of stuff that you can utilise when you go out camping or on holiday or something like that. Or, you know, you've got a bit of extra food in the cupboard, so it just means you don't have to go to the shops as often. These simple acts of preparation, to me, just seem like common sense. I come from that kind of background anyway. Yes, I was a good Boy Scout, dib, without all the Baden-Powell associations, thank you very much. But that kind of be prepared attitude has always stuck with me, having lived on and been around farms and other such environment in a similar manner. You know, you don't get through a season if you're not prepared for that season with whatever bits and bobs you need to do what you're doing. So for me, it comes back to that mental attitude about that whole process. Classically, the system, the agenda, the mainstream media likes to point fingers, throw labels, attempt to quarantine you in that derogatory fashion of, oh, you're a crazy survivalist, oh, you're a tinfoil hatter, oh, you believe in 2012 end of the world, oh, you're stocking up on water, are you? Oh, you must be a nutter, I'll put your name on a list. We're all already on lists, mate. Yeah, if you haven't figured that out, it doesn't matter who you are in this country, you're on some kind of list already. And now they've set up the various legislative structures required. Anybody can be put onto a list, as and when required. If you need somebody put on a list, they've got something that they can trip you up with so that you end up on that list. So it's about time, I feel. Maybe it's just me. Yes, a lot of this could just be my own process, which I am just sharing with you, but it seems appropriate at the moment. I've seen a lot more general talk, chatter, sharing of information across the internet about this very subject. Prepping seems to come up more often in general topics. Seen quite a few uploads talking about the subject recently, articles posted, etc. I think, it could be said that this is just a reaction to the world situation at the moment. We are on that crazy train with the lunatics in charge. So isn't it just a sensible idea to be a bit more prepared for what these lunatics might actually throw your way? I think it is. And that process of letting go of the attempt to have an outside force that will come and protect you and care for you, that the state system, certainly arguably I would say the entire agenda, the entire machine structure is based around this principle. They will try and persuade the masses that it's okay folks, don't worry, go about your day, watch X Factor, buy the new iPod, everything's okay, look at these titties. Don't worry about the fact that it is highly likely that an escalating war is about to start. Don't worry about that. No, stay calm, carry on shopping. Yes, it's a good poster, that is, if you haven't seen it. Keep calm, carry on shopping. But once you can start to, once your spidey sense starts tingling and you start asking questions and looking at all this craziness that's going on and saying this just can't be right, you start digging and all these little rabbit holes open up to you and you run in lots of different directions looking at loads of different stuff. But when it comes down to it, what can you actually do about it? What are you doing about it? It's needed to be aware of all this stuff going on. You need this information so that you can make better judgments, better decisions about what you are going to do. As I said earlier, it's no good just getting into that fear loop of, I've done lots of research, folk, and research said it's shit, it's, they got their hands down the pants, and, you can buy my food. Sorry, taking the piss there, just can't help it. Because it is that classic fear loop that some groups, some news sites, whatever you want to define them as, like to propagate on. They seemingly exist on keeping people in that fear loop. And if you can start to realise, again, it's yet another box within a box, if you can start to realise that fear loop, then hopefully you can start making progress towards realising that you can actually be doing something about it, that there are things you can do, that you are not powerless, that it is just an illusion that they have power over you. It is just the illusion that they have dangled in front of the eyes of those who have succumbed to it, who are willing to then pick up guns and enforce said illusion. In that process of moving towards being empowered in your awareness, not being entrapped into that cycle of just, oh, it's so scary, oh, it's so scary, oh, it's so scary. Reality is scary. So you need to deal with it because you are within reality. I will often talk about esoteric stuff, I'll often talk about spirituality, etc., etc. But I also try to remind people that there is a duality of polarizations, and you can take both directions to a silly extreme. If we are here in this reality, to all extents and purposes, all evidence proves again and again that we are having a 3-dimensional, 4-dimensional experience. That means you should interact with it. So therefore it requires some action, some intent and action. Intent leads to action. It's no good just sitting on your ass and going, oh, it's all so scary, it's all so terrible, what can I do, poor little old me, oh no, oh woe. That's what they want, that's what the agenda wants. That's why, as I say to people, if you go and look at this information, be aware. There are fearmongers out there, and they will want to keep you stuck in that loop because it's how they make a living. Don't let them fool you. Don't be deceived by the mental prestidigitation. Take what value you can from the information they offer, and don't get stuck there. I recently, slightly diverting, but I feel it links in quite well. I recently signed up for the Sons of Liberty Academy, which is a website from a guy called Chris Dwayne, who runs a YouTube channel named Truth Never Told. I'll put a link in for that because you can find all these other links from there. I thought it worth mentioning to people about this because if you go and sign up for it, he has now made it freely available. That's just not linking in the chat room. But yeah, he's made it freely available. It was originally a membership site. He's honest with people. He says he originally set up the site to fund himself and the running of the website, so he was charging people to join the site, but he has now opened it free to all. That's just his channel name on YouTube. People want it linked in the chat room, so you can sign up to it for free now and access the information and videos he's put up there. And so far, from everything I've looked at, there is a lot of good and useful information there. Now I'm just adding this in, as I say, I think it's worth people checking out, but also to point back to that concept of moving through the fear. Yes, there is fear. Yes, there is a lot of scary stuff going on in the world, but if all you do is run around like a headless chicken pointing at all the scary stuff, you're not actually going to get anything done about it, are you? And I'm not falling into that, what I believe is a straw man argument of, oh, you can't do anything, they're so powerful, they're all powerful, they're gods, they are, you can't do anything. There are lots of things you can be doing. I talked about this before. There are many little things you can do. You don't have to be Gandhi, you don't even have to go to protests or join the Occupy movement or join the Zeitgeist movement or go and live up a mountain or any of that stuff. Don't fall for the disablement of being pushed to inaction because you feel the mountain is too high. Instead of looking at the top and thinking it's too far away, look at your feet and take one step at a time. You'll miss the view, I'm sure you'll have a fantastic view if you looked around that mountain, but if you're struggling in that respect, look back to your feet one step at a time. I was thinking that question of in the grand scheme of all this situation as it goes, how do we non-violently defeat the enemy? If we put it in simplistic terms, I'm not trying to create enemies or have an other to create a symbiotic protest and resistance against now, but how do you non-violently defeat your enemy or deal with this situation, this paradigm of death that we are stuck in, this cycle that is gradually and rapidly tightening to a very, very unpleasant end? I'm not sure where this originally came from. I've got a vague recollection of it being an Oriental quote of advice from somewhere. I honestly cannot remember where I originally heard this, but it's been in my head for quite a long time. How do you non-violently defeat your enemy? I think in its original form, the question was something like, how do you truly defeat your enemy? But anyway, how do you do that? You live well and prosper. Don't get confused with Mr. Spock. I did not say live long and prosper. I said live well and prosper. Because when you think about all the possible definitions and connotations of the word well, it can have a very encompassing meaning in the context of that sentence. It could be argued that such an outlook would be nationalistic or tribalistic, etc. Yes, it could be if you allowed it to be abused to such a polarisation. But when we're talking about a structure of memes that forms this paradigm of death that we are stuck within, if you want to start dismantling them, you approach them from the opposite consciousness. Again, warning, cliche warning, darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that. When the power of love overcomes the love of power, the world shall know peace. There you go, I gave you warning. Cliche bombardment. But I find that these things hold truth. We cannot solve these problems at the same level of consciousness that they were created. So if we want to dismantle this mimetic paradigm of death, we have to approach it from the opposite consciousness, and we have to perpetuate and propagate our consciousness. Yes, again, arguably tribalistic. But when it comes to it, is that just the dance of that duality of positive and negative? And does it not seem that at the moment that balance is highly unbalanced in favour of the negative? And the longer that goes on, the more death and suffering and pain and misery the entire biosphere of our globe is going to suffer. So which would you rather work towards? What future do you wish to create? If you can start looking towards that future that you wish to create, as I say, you will then, I feel, undoubtedly realise the usefulness of being prepared. It's not something that should make you afraid, absolutely the opposite. It's something that should make you feel positive, because by prepping, you are taking a step up that mountain towards making something better, making this situation better. Because if the shit does really hit the fan and it all goes to the wall, those people that are prepared to get through that situation are going to be the ones that are left around to rebuild everything. Do you want that to be these crazy psychotic people such as Nick Clegg? I almost couldn't say his name without just a string of swear words. And do you want people like that to be rebuilding the future? I remember at the very end of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, when the when the new Earth is being recreated, I'm talking about the original TV series version of the book, and the ones that were chosen to repopulate the world were primarily a bunch of toffs with a few middle class people to do all the running around for them. Yes, anyway, diverging off there, but the point is, there's nothing wrong with prepping. If anything, it should make you feel more empowered, more positive, that you can actually be taking part in a new renaissance, a rebirth, a phoenix-like rising of hopefully the entire global biosphere. We're part of that. It's not just us. Humans have this terribly egocentric perchance to only ever think about themselves and their own part to play in all this grand scheme of things. But I find it undeniable to say that the planet as a whole is suffering highly because of a lot of the things that we do. I'm not talking about the green agenda and all that bullshit, but I think you know what I mean. I'm confident that you will understand my point of view. So, hopefully I might have nudged you a bit. As I say often, I'm not trying to sell you anything. I ain't no expert in anything. This is not legal advice. This is not health advice. You must use your own critical thinking and discernment and intuition and decide for yourself. Is it worth making a bit of preparation for the potentiality of what could be an escalating situation? I think it's a fairly sensible idea, don't you? Does that have a longer term potentiality to it? I feel it does. That's most of what I do, folks. A lot of the time, what I hope to do, what I try to do, is just grab that box that is on people's heads, give it a good shake, spin them around a few times, and then ask them again, where are you? Where are you going? Why are you going there? How are you going to get there? Is that really the direction you want to go? No, it's up to you, but don't complain when you get burned. Yeah, I'm going to play another song because I'm starting to rant and ramble. I'll play this little song as a dedication for Red, because I know he's played, again, this is a remix. I think you played the original. I'm going to play the remix. This is a new one that he's just released. Yeah, anyway, again, highly appropriate lyrics to a lot of the stuff that's going on at the moment. So I'll be back in about 5 minutes.
Flipping the pyramid.
Flipping the pyramid.
Flipping the pyramid. Flipping the pyramid. Flipping the pyramid. .co.uk. Flip the pyramid.
Turning that pyramid on its head.
Flipping the pyramid. Flip the pyramid.
Flipping the pyramid.
Flip the pyramid. Flipping the pyramid.co.uk.
Flipping the pyramid.
Flipping the pyramid.
Flipping the pyramid.co.uk.
Flipping the pyramid.
Flipping the whole paradigm of that hierarchical system on its head. Flipping the paradigm. Flipping that paradigm. Make myself choke on my own ridiculous voices. Serves me right. That was Embed, Paradise Lost, new mix, live mix, sorry it was called. Yeah, excellent lyrics on that. Check out Embed online. I think Red had dropped a link in for his website earlier in the day. It's back a bit further up in the chat room, but it's there somewhere. There's a lot I could say about the contents in that lyrics. I think he says it quite well. He covers quite a few different aspects. But back to finish up on my point about prepping and accepting that fear and not allowing it to trap you. the prepping of the mindset rather than just the physical act of prepping. There's a lot of potentialities of things going wrong. Of course there is, because this is the reality we live in. You know, there is a lot of possibility of unpleasant things occurring, etc., etc. Some things you can prepare for, some things you can't, but it's worth doing a bit. If you've just done something, at least that's going to give you a better chance than if you'd done nothing at all. And as I've said lots before, don't feel that you're disempowered. That's what the agenda wants you to feel. The more people that sit at home and do nothing but stay stuck in that fear loop of, oh, what can I do, there's nothing I can do, then that's better for them, because they get the chance to carry on their usual agenda. There is some on the FTP website, in the files section, there's a load of helpful articles there that are linked. Various stuff, some of it a bit more survivalist, some of it a bit more general, as well as other files like documentation of interesting information, governmental documentation, stuff like that. So here's one place you can start if you're not sure where to look. There is some sort of prepping type stuff there you could start with. And as I say, there's lots and lots and lots of good websites out there. There's lots and lots of free information you can get. And of course books that you can get about that kind of subject, even if it's just something like a book about gardening in small spaces, edible herbs and flowers, things like that, you know, useful information. You could also talk about skills and knowledge as well as knowledge. You know, learning some basic skills you might find useful. And again, that's a massively long list that I'm not planning to get into. I'm sure you'll get the gist of things if you start looking at that kind of stuff. It will be pretty appropriate in the sense, I'm tripping over myself, in the sense of you will find plenty of avenues of those kind of skills and skill sets to pick up on if you are thinking of doing such. Again, I don't want to just regurgitate information that other people have already, in a good way, presented available freely to you. Lots of places out there. As I said, this is something that I will continue working on. I'm going to try and put something together if I can. I'm just a bit how shall I put it, considering how best to structure that without it getting too endless, because the lists can become pretty endless, that's the problem. But anyway, I have rambled and frothed and ranted at you for long enough, I think. Hopefully I might have just prodded you a little bit, talked about all the general sort of craziness that's going on. Yeah, the lunatics are in control of this asylum at the moment, but don't let that put you off working towards something better. Hopefully we can outbreed those crazy people. That's one way we can get through this. Not necessarily such a good idea, but there you go. Yeah, I think I should give up because I'm starting to digress into general rambling. So I will say thank you for listening, folks. This has been me rambling and ranting at you. I'm going to play you some music on the way out as usual. Hopefully a bit uplifting. Yes, it's more good classic guitar stuff. This is another real classic one. Hopefully those tones will rise you up a little bit. I find it quite uplifting, but you know, that's why I picked it, because I've got control of the buttons. What happens if I press this big red one? Oh dear. No, in all seriousness, thanks for listening, folks. keep looking at that information, keep talking, keep sharing it, keep working towards improving, evolving, making things better, picking up skills and knowledge that will enable you to help construct the new Renaissance. We don't need the Illuminati, because we are all illuminated with the light of this existence. Take care, folks, and I will rant at you again next week, most likely.
Flipping the Pyramid. www.flippingthepyramid.co.uk. We aim to discover the truth about our world and the issues it faces.